big group, a little larger than what we anticipated. My name is Randy Kettler, and I'm the director of the Chapman Learning Center, which includes adult education. But before I get started, I will introduce our president, Dr. Brian Emby, and let him give a welcome.
Hello, everyone. Yes, thank you. Well, welcome to Neosho County Community College. Appreciate it coming to town to have your meeting here and us hosting. We very much try to be a big part of the workforce generation for this area. We're very proud of some things at the college. We recently entered the college in something called the National Benchmarking Project, and what it does is it compares over 300 community colleges across the country, and very proud to report that NCCC scored the top 15% in the nation in both completion and retention of students. So we're very proud of what we've done there. We have some of the highest pass rates in all of our certifications in the state, and so we're very happy about that. About 40% of what we do at the college is technical in nature. People going straight to work, getting a nursing degree or CNA or welding certificate or construction certificate, and going straight to work. So we're part of workforce generation in the area, and we want to do what we can to support you and help you make that reality and help all students at all levels, going for doctorates down to people who want to get a CNA and go straight to work after 16 weeks. So we're about that as well. So thank you for coming out and enjoy the campus while you're here. Thank you.
You guys don't have agendas. What I think we'll do is I want to keep this meeting all pretty informal, and the reason we talk about having this meeting is so we can better serve the participants in all of our programs and to make sure that we're filling in as many cracks as we can while we're doing this. So I think what we'll do is go around and introduce ourselves, tell a little bit about what your job duties are and what organization you're with, and we'll just start here with Kevin. I'm Kevin McGuffin. I'm a court service officer in Warren County. Probation, juvenile, and adult.
Michael Trell, court service officer in Iowa, do the same thing Kevin does.
Troy Smith with Community Corrections. We do intensive supervision, probation.
Dean Hopeful Hills Technical College and employee of the Director of Adult Education and the Workforce Training Center. Melissa Hunter, I do the juvenile justice truancy program in the district. Cameron Alloway, I do juvenile probation and case management for Allen, Neosho, and Webster.
I'm Della Barbosa with Osawatomie DCF, and I do eligibility for cash, food, child care, not medical anymore, programs, and I'm a work program specialist.
I'm Michael Clore, and I'm the Employment Services Coordinator for the East Region at DCF. And all these folks from DCF, I work with them in their work programs.
Charlestown Community Corrections, work for Dunyon Chinook.
Jim Shear with 31st JJA.
Ken Crutchfield with Court Services, we do the same thing like him.
Jennifer March, Court Services in Chinook.
Phil Young, Chief Court Services Officer and Administrative Director of Community Corrections and JJA for the 31st District.
Bud Marshall, Community Corrections, Chinook Adults.
Julie Strode, Community Corrections. I cover Allen, Woodson, and Neosho.
Carol Stoll, I'm the EES supervisor for the Chinook DCF office.
Kathy Hamilton, I'm the DCF supervisor in the Pittsburgh office.
Cindy Bailey, I'm the EES supervisor in the Columbus office.
I'm Kathy David, I'm the EES supervisor in Independence.
I'm Doug Ewing, I'm the project director for Southeast Kansas Works and charged with operating the one-stop system in Southeast Kansas as well as program operations.
Travis Allen with Kansas Works to do quality assurance, make sure our staff dot the I's, cross the T's. And that's pretty much it. Randy Barnes, the center manager for the Kansas Works office.
John Pettis, I'm the Regional Operations Manager for the Kansas Department of Commerce here in Southeast Kansas.
Russell Morrison, Court Services, Wilson County.
Kelly McKenna, Court Services in Wilson County.
I'm John Tercer, I'm the Operations Manager for Southeast Kansas Works.
I'm Julia Martin, I'm the Director of Adult Education.
Price. I'm a kickoff career coach for Kansas Works, Southeast Kansas Works, in Independence office.
Dan Decker, Employer Development Manager, DCF Central Office, Topeka.
I'm Jennifer Anderson, and I'm the Regional Coordinator for Eastern Kansas Adult Education, and I'm largely responsible, I guess, for Montgomery and Lebec County. I'm Heather Garrett. I'm the AOK Coordinator and Transition Coordinator here at Neosho County.
I'm Krista Clay. I am the Northern Regional Coordinator for Eastern Kansas Adult Education, which includes Neosho, Bourbon, and Franklin counties.
Amber Crum, Dean of Outreach and Workforce Development here at Neosho County Community College. Oh, we already talked about community corrections and juvenile justice.
This is what makes things work.
I'm Jordan Nuki. I'm Randy Kepler's assistant.
Nothing would ever happen without Jody. So, what I'm going to do, and those folks, Julie, you didn't get here in time because I already prepped 10. But you can jump anytime you want, and I'm going to have Jennifer and Krista speak a little bit about what we do with our consortium in adult education. And so everybody knows a little bit about what we actually do in adult ed, because it is more than just GED, but with a lot of different things. So I'll tell a little bit about the consortium. The consortium is a combined effort with Independence Community College, Fort Scott Community College, Lebec Community College, and USD 290 out of Ottawa. So we have full-blown sites at each one of those campuses. We have full staff. We have full support from those colleges and from the USD to provide adult education services in those counties. So if you guys want to be a little more specific and talk about what we do, you want to come up?
Krista?
And then I'll talk a little bit about, because we've had some talks about the direction we're going to go, since we do have a new GED coming in, which we'll talk about later too, but the direction we're thinking about going in, go ahead.
Well, as we said earlier, Jennifer is largely responsible for the southern counties, and I am more for the northern counties, but we do share an office, so we talk daily on a regular basis. And our programs are, we like to think of seamless, I guess. I mean, you could have a student that started at Neosho in Chanute and moved to Montgomery County, and we would be able to funnel them right into our adult education program in Independence, or they can move to Lebec County or Bourbon County, and we would be able to transfer records without having any issue, which we think is great. But some of the things that we are preparing right now for the new GED 2014, which is going to be quite a bit different, workplace and college ready. So we're gearing right now for prepping our instructors for teaching higher level skills that, not that we didn't have before, and I was actually a trainer on the 2002 GED for the state, but this is not only a different way of thinking. The delivery method is fully computerized, so as of January 1, we will start on a fully computerized GED test, which is probably important for all you guys to know. If you have somebody that's kind of hip-hop around about getting their GED, they'd probably be too late by now. But anyway, so not only will they have to have those higher level critical thinking type skills and being application, and how many of you know what Bloom's taxonomy is? Anybody in here? Well, basically, you don't need to know that. They've changed it to Bloom's taxonomy now. But it basically is how people learn things. It's a progress. It's a process, I guess, a progression. And a lot of it is taking information from the lowest level and building on that until they're able to apply that to other situations, and that's what this test is going to be. It's not just going to be the old rote memorization of years gone by. They're going to have to know basic information and then apply that in a new way. So it's going to be far more difficult, and
questions will be more based on, we're jumping ahead, talking a lot about the new GED. It's not just what we do in adult education.
yeah. Well, I just say that's
how
what
we
we're
hold
doing
our
now.
classes,
Yeah.
hold our classes.
Yeah, I was getting to that. That's what we're prepping for right now. We hold our classes. Jennifer, you talk. I'm always in the talking.
We have classes at all, 6 locations now? 6 locations, which is Fort Scott Community College, Independence Community College, Lebec Community College,
life skills as far as balancing a budget and balancing your checkbook and that kind of thing.
Resumes,
Cover letters, all those things you need to get a job. We work on that. We're basically goal centered. Whatever the student's goal is, that's what we help them with. All of our classes are learner based, so what that group of students needs is what that instructor delivers. So, anything else?
No, some of the things that we're thinking about doing is expanding class, and we want to keep this pretty informal. We want input from the folks that are here that have folks that could be referring to our program. So, team, you got something?
Just ditto exactly our class schedule, very similar. We have classes in the morning and the evening. We have tutoring in the afternoon, but we are also not, just to piggyback what Brandy said earlier, we're not just GED focused. We accept students with their GED and their high school diploma. If they test into remedial education, we can give them those remedial skills to get ready to be college and ready bound. So we do a Compass boot camp, which is the asset Compass test entrance exam. You do Compass or asset. So we do a monthly boot camp that gets ready those high school juniors and seniors that want to be transitioning out to Flint Tech College. We also work a new program I started. I come from K-12 administration. A new program we started is the credit recovery program through Emporia High School. So any student that has transcripts or credits from previous high school, we do a transcript analysis and then started on just credit recovery classes, which also they're in class next to a student working on their GED. We don't discriminate. You know, Troy's working on his credits. I'm working on my GED. But at the end of the semester, he's getting credits towards his actual diploma to graduate. So we have a two-track program, our GED focus and our credit recovery focus.
A lot of the same. Again, we don't just do GED, we also do workforce preparation. We have a class called Empower You, and basically that is a job skills, a life skills class. It's a quick 3-week class in which students come in and really just get a kickstart. So they graduate with a resume, cover letter, work ready certificate, improved technology skills, and workplace soft skills, some life management, money management skills, and that sort of thing. So it's really just an all-in-one kind of a 3-week work skills class. We also do the college preparation as well. So really we like to think of our program as a starting point, whether people are wanting to get into college or get their high school diploma or get into the workforce. We like to prepare them for all of those things. And we too offer morning and evening classes. And then we also have an online component. We realize that a lot of our students struggle to sometimes, make it into a center, and a lot of people live in rural areas. So we do offer an online component both here in the southern area and then up into the Osage and Topeka area as well.
So, were you all aware that adult education can provide those kinds of services too? I mean, from other agencies like DCF, DOC? If you have students that were wanting to go on that, it doesn't have to be about getting your high school diploma. In Kansas, it's still a Kansas State high school diploma that's issued by the Board of Regents. And the Board of Regents is the governing agency for all of the colleges in the state of Kansas. So were you guys aware of that these services were available? Or what other services would you like to see our adult education folks providing?
I have a question more than anything.
Yep, sure.
What about those folks that might have like a learning disability of some kind? Do they get any kind of individualized?
We work with those individuals to help them understand that yes, you do learn differently or you do things differently. But as far as employment, how many employers do you know are going to hire somebody that can't do the job that's before them? So we're getting those folks ready to enter the workforce. So if they, and I don't think I'm dogging K through 12, but I think that's one of the worst things that happens is we label students sometimes, and then they start believing that, and then when we get them in adult education, we say, okay, you tell me you're LD, then to me that means you learn differently. So let's figure out how you learn. And then let's get you on track to get to where you want to be. And that's what we're talking about, I think, in every one of our adult education programs, is we want to get to know our students. We do goal-setting sessions with them. We do counseling sessions with them to figure out what they want and where they want to be. And that's kind of how adult education, in a a nutshell. And if you got any other questions, I mean, that's as far as, you know, people with true disabilities to be able to accommodation, just what is allowable under ADA. We'll make a level playing field. It's not IDEA. It's not the same thing as ADA.
Right. Not only students that qualify under ADA, but a lot of IEP students and developmental education students. I run 3 teachers morning, 3 teachers in the evening. We do beginner, intermediate, and advanced level of classes. So a lot of our dev ed babies are in, a lot of our dev ed kiddos are in beginner's level. Yeah. Basic levels of developmental ed.
There's a lot of talk about developmental ed and adult ed coming together, and I'm on a task force from competing on dev ed too. So that's just getting started. I don't know where that's going yet. But as far as adult education, do you see any services that you would like to see provided that we haven't talked about?
What's available for all adults that they've already got a diploma or a GED, but they need to brush up on basic skills because they forgot a lot of stuff?
That's exactly what we're talking about. Is those students? We're getting more and more of those students all the time that's coming in and saying, "I don't want to take developmental courses. I know they offer them, but I know I can come here." And we work at a different pace. You know, most dev ed courses are at least 8 weeks to a full semester long, and it costs them per credit hour to take them. Through adult education, they come in and they get to work at their pace, which sometimes is a lot more accelerated than the developmental course.
What's enticing to a lot of people that come to adult ed that have their diploma, just look at, we have a lot of work ready certificates. We have our OSHA 10, we do general industry, we do work readies, we do work keys. So we do our GNA in-house certification, so not going through the full 16-week program. So we have a lot of work ready certifications that you can pick up while you're working on those remedial skills. So maybe in 10 weeks, you're working on that basic math and language arts, but you're coming out of it with OSHA 10, certification, here's 10 card. Things like that would be really enticing. You already have your diploma, we're going to boost your resume a little bit.
Right.
Employability.
And our students, and we'll talk, I mean, it kind of jumps ahead a little bit again about we're jumping over the ESL part, but we'll get to that. We're part of the Accelerating Opportunities for Kansas grant, which actually does that, work with students to get them enrolled in post-secondary and can get a lot of training through technical ed. Is there any more questions about? Yep.
This is fundamental. How much does it cost the students? Or is it,
varies per center.
It varies by center. We charge $25 fee.
$30
material fee.
okay.
We charge 25 as well, and we're usually willing to waive that if it's not.
There are ways. We're not going to turn anybody away, but if you have folks from your your organization that you can help pay for, that's great. Because we're always looking for. We hold a golf tournament and different things, not to pay the $25, but to help with the testing fees sometimes, and even some post-secondary that we have. So we do some fundraising also. So it is a $25 fee right now. It's $85 to set for the GED. That $25 gets you right now the official practice test that gets you the work keys here. We'll work key you for that. I don't know if everybody else is the same way. And you get what else you get? The official practice test. Oh, Compass. You can pick Compass under that too. All right. So they're getting some. They leave adult education with a Kansas work ready certificate. All right. So, you got questions? So, you guys think I got any more questions?
How limited can they be functionally illiterate?
We do not have a literacy program. I don't know if you do.
We're not literacy first. We used to be. There was 10 years ago reported literacy first program.
I don't know if you do.
Yeah, no.
So as far as I know of, in Area 5, there's not, because I don't think either Karen has a literacy program either. They're not here. So I might state that too. The Paola is not here, nor is Pittsburgh. Neither one can make it here. They both have adult education centers. Paola has Oak Army, and Paola and Karen Sugar has Pittsburgh. So neither one of them could be here. But as far as I'm concerned, there are no literacy programs. Is there a need for that in Southeast Kansas to have a literacy program?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would piggyback on that. Could we get those skills there with having some standards in adult ed in place? Yes, but that's where we're going. The state of Kansas is designing adult ed standards. We're unpacking the Common Core right now so that our teachers have the tools to teach literacy skills with a common set of standards.
But I'm going to state right now, they'll have that's something we need to pursue because there is literacy money. And if we need to, and that may be something that we want to look at as adult ed centers, is that something that we can share and have somebody go that works intensive 2 days a week at different sites and then share drops and
What does
drops.
Greenbush do?
I have no idea.
Do they have a little?
I have no idea. When I'm saying that, I mean that. I have no idea what Greenbush does.
They have migrant literacy, but I don't know of any
I mean, I don't.
basic literacy program.
Because they're more K through 12.
I know.
Yeah, but see, we're not any K through 12. So I have, when I'm saying that, I'm not meaning that to be disrespectful. I just don't have any idea because I don't work in that arena.
We wouldn't send anybody to Greenbush anyway. I mean, that's too far for most of our folks to drive. So
Right.
it really wouldn't matter at what point, what services they offer, because
Well, that's
so
what-
many of ours don't. They just
That's why I was talking about literacy. We could have somebody that travels
Yeah.
and maybe share, and then set up a volunteer network maybe. I mean, it's given us some ideas in adult education, and we'll later on this afternoon, on the agenda, we're going to break into some subgroups and talk about how we can better serve our shared participants because we do share a lot of the same folks. We get a lot of people from corrections and DCF. Kansas Work sends people over. And when we have all this different information, they're getting bombarded from like 4 or 5 different directions. And no wonder we wonder why they aren't successful sometimes. It's because they have 4 different people trying to tell them what to do. Is that fun for anybody? It's not. Okay? So, any other suggestions on adult ed?
Randy, is there any directory that would, because a lot of these folks are talking, but when I leave here today, I won't remember names. Who would
The
be
directory?
contact persons?
We can do that. This whole thing's being taped too and be put out on our website.
That would be helpful for us in corrections to have a contact person.
So you'll have that, Jody, they want a contact list. So there was a sign-in sheet going around.
That was my intent for doing that.
Okay, there should be a sign-in sheet. I don't know if everybody signed that sign-in sheet. So then we will then in turn email that to you. I hope everybody's putting.
I put email, agency, and name.
Okay. So it'll have the email, agency, and name. So you have an email, contact, and name, and who they're with. Does that help, Phil?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because that's the main thing about this group, and I'm thinking maybe it'd be nice if we met once or twice a year. I mean, we haven't got to that, but if we could get together as a group and maybe even meet someplace a little larger than this next time, and have, because I don't have any of my ABE staff here, but we might want to do that in the future, bring our staff. I mean, that's a thought too.
One of the things that Kansas Works does is partner meetings, and I know we used to do it monthly, and we had difficulty getting people to show up because they had so many things they couldn't attend every month.
Right.
What we're going to do now is each office will have one each quarter, and for us that would be Independence, Pittsburgh, and Emporia.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are welcome to come to those, and we'll put out a calendar when they're going to be.
Maybe we piggyback this meeting onto one of those.
Yeah.
We meet once a year, maybe we just piggyback it onto one of those and make it a little bigger than what it normally is. I mean, that's a possibility too. I mean, because anybody that knows me knows how much I like meetings. So I think there has to be a purpose to it. My purpose for wanting to be a part of this, and I've worked a lot with John Kirshner to set this up, is to make sure that we're serving the folks that we serve the best that we can. Because my bottom line has always been the student or the participant, and are they getting what they need from coming to our programs? Because what's the point of coming to our programs if they're not getting what they need?
I was going to mention that on the SoutheastKansasWorks.com website, we have our entire contact list by office, by staff member, includes phone number, email address, whatever.
Okay. And I'm sure that's true of DCF. Probably, I don't know, if corrections is the same way. If you go to your website.
You'd have to go to each individual in each county.
Each one in each county. Okay. All right. Anything else on adult ed before we, another thing that we put on here, because I've been hearing more and more about ESL, English as a second language. We don't provide it. I don't think anybody else down this way does. Tina does. And I'll let you talk a little bit about your program you wanted for ESL, and we'll talk about some holes and gaps maybe.
What do you want to know about, I guess I should say. So,
How many students? Yeah, I'd like to know, what's the need in Lyon County?
Huge. If anyone's been to Emporium, Emporium is a huge need for second language learners and our acquisition, especially in the workforce. What's happened now is after our displaced workers with Dolly closing and shutting down, people don't realize that Tyson did this 6 years ago on our B shift. So they have 1,200 B shift workers. When they rehire those workers, Dolly also, they're requiring a minimal GED. So no longer could we just have experience and work, we have to have that GED now. So we were flooded with dislocated workers. Kansas Works came in wonderfully, and we had a lot of contracts with students to help them pay for their schooling and some living expenses and things while they were pursuing their GED. So I appreciate the Employee Kansas Works office. Really, really great. We have right around 100 in our program that come to work on basic English skills, work on a lot of work readiness, resume writing, cover letter writing, but also GED. So I guess any questions I answer, but I don't know what to tell you other than that.
I'd ask, is there a need down here in southeast Kansas to provide those types of services for folks that don't speak English well?
It's growing. I mean, we see it in our office a lot more than we see it 10 years ago.
Because see, what we normally have under adult ed is we may have 2 or 3 requests a year to provide ESL services, and that does not, I can't justify doing that for 2 or 3 people. I can do it for 50.
I think it's probably the same in Pittsburgh and Independence. The demand's not high enough to justify it.
Coffeyville has a higher ratio, I think, than
Well, we just had our first request this month, the whole year. And we're working with HEP out of Fort Scott, and we got actually a student at Neosho County Community College he's bilingual, is going to tutor this student, basically just, not tutor, but translate for him. I mean, we don't see a big, not that they're not here, but they're not requesting services.
Well, they're not requesting services. That's what I'm saying. Do we need to market that? Do we need to, because obviously we have several sites in southeast Kansas. Do we need to market that? Do we need to apply for funds to do that? Because we don't have funds to do it right now. We have to apply for other funds. And now's a good time to tell us, because we can't apply here in the next couple of months. Doesn't mean we'll get it, but we could apply for
Jennifer
funds.
was just saying that we don't qualify for that part of the program because of the census, where our census is.
Census doesn't show it.
Right.
It doesn't show it. We'd have to apply for like a general dollar grant or something else to do this kind of service. But we could apply for some money. Right.
I don't think in Neosho County, I mean, we get some Hispanic applications, but so many of the folks that we have are they're food assistance only for those households. Our TANF applicants most of the time they're already English speaking.
Well, yeah, people ask me, do we have a large Hispanic? And I say, yeah.
I mean, we
do. We have a large Hispanic population in
but
Neosho County, but they've been here since the railroad came.
Yeah, they are TANF eligible. So.
Tina, do you give Spanish versions of the CASAS? Or do you give the English? I mean, just the regular
English CASAS. There's not a Spanish version of CASAS. There's the tape, which is in Spanish.
Okay.
It's a separate levelizer. Yeah.
Okay.
But we do offer Spanish GED and Spanish OPT. And we have instruction in Spanish. One of my ESL's classes is in Spanish.
Anything else? Go ahead. Have Ms. Heather come talk to us about AOK. Or Brenda talk about
Hello, my name's Heather Garrett. I'm the AOK coordinator. What AOK is Accelerating Opportunities for Kansans. It is it's sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and several others. That basically what we do is we combine basic skills with tech education. So we've had students who are enrolled in a technical program. They found that students were coming out with a technical degree or certificate, but did not have the basic skills necessary in order to obtain employment and to keep employment. So what this has done has brought basic skills into the classroom. And we currently are co-teaching. We do 2 instructors. So we have the basic skills instructor who goes into the classroom, provides the basic skill instruction along with the technical education instructor. So the goal is to improve those basic skills. We've done this for 3 years. We've seen some pretty good numbers come out of it. We have a lot of students who qualify. We use CASAs to be the qualifiers. And, a lot of people think that when students are in college that they should already have those basic skills. But you would be amazed at how many people actually do qualify. When they come out of the program, they do their post-test in CASAs, and their post-test scores typically improve. And so we're releasing students who now have the certification and the basic skills necessary for them to obtain the employment. So.
You might add that almost all of your students they already have a high school diploma.
All of our students, just reiterating what he just said, so almost all of our students do already have that high school diploma or a GED. There have been a couple who did not have that, but as a result of working with their basic skills instructor, because all the basic skill instructors are adult education instructors. They're all trained through adult education, and so then we refer them to our adult education program, and they can start working on their GED. We have AOK currently going on here at the Chanute campus. We have it in Ottawa. We have it in Fort Scott and Independence. Yes.
At the state level, we have an MOU with Board of Regents through DCF that has a scholarship program for those applicants that are TANF eligible to pay for tuition and fees complete through that. However, I don't know, maybe you can attest to this, only probably yours. We're hearing for some of the colleges that there's a separate $25 GED fee, and I know that you say you don't have a lot of people that still need to get their GEDs. Is that consistent, or is that something that should be covered within our DCF tuition and fees charge? Or
our folks that are under AOK, we do not charge a fee to. Now, if they have to take the GED test, yes, they have to pay the $85 fee, which is going to go up considerably after the first year. But that would be the fee. We waive any other fees if they're AOK because we have grant funds that we're working with.
Would you go over the sites again? I got Chanute, Fort Scott, and Ottawa, and that's as far as I got.
And
Independence Community College. All of our sites are on a college campus. Okay.
Well, and I think we might need to mention that we are not the GED issuer. That comes out of Labette Community College, and we transport all of our students to Labette or Pittsburgh, wherever their testing is. But that's separate from our program.
After the first of the year, we are a peer-reviewed testing site, so they can test here.
Right.
So it'll be it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Denver probably thought about you.
So I already
Whoever
laughed
feels
all
the best
out.
about talking about the GED, I thought Barker was coming, but.
You brought up the TANF, the MOU with TANF. How many DCF are you guys all aware of the TANF and the MOU for the TANF
Participants
scholarship?
that they will pay up, they have to complete 12 credit hours on track. Is that, you want to talk about it just a little bit?
a little bit. I mean, basically what it is, it's on the AOK 12-hour track, so it's the short term. It's paid on completion, but any individual that's TANF eligible can be referred by their DCF worker to participate in the AOK program, and DCF absorbs all costs on that. There are some, we'll lean on other agencies, potentially if there's a lot of tools and different stuff. And someone may also be working with the Kansas Works office, and the program they're going into is a welding program that may require certain tools and different things. We may work in conjunction with, if they're co-enrolled in other services with other agencies. But at least for the tuition and fees, that is paid for directly out of our direct MOU scholarship program at state level DCF with the AOK Board of Regents across the state at all facilities offering AOK. So.
Can DCF pay for GEDs still?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Can and will.
what's the minimum services? Like, I know we had students that were just receiving food, the vision card. Would that, or is it a case-by-case basis? Or?
I would say case by case. Primarily, we deal in our section of employees. We're on the TANF side, but a TANF individual, we can get that.
Okay.
So that's not.
But that's for it if they're just through the system.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's
unless they reside in certain counties, because there are those FTE counties.
So case by case, then we would just have to have our students check.
But that's one of the things that, as an agency, that's one of the things that's so appealing to us about AOK and why we sponsor at the state level is because, we, not that you guys need to know about all this, but for federal participation, one of the big pieces is we can't count GED towards federal participation. It's a non-countable component for us. And so one of the things with the AOK that's such a big deal for us is that because it's a concurrent training program, we count it as a vocational training the entire length of the training, so we get to absorb that GED in that piece of it. So we get a federal participation at the same time we're getting the skills that
On that, when you're saying you can't count that, wouldn't adult education be intensive services?
Oh,
and be able to pay for that?
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, you're preaching to the
Well,
choir.
but I mean, then if it's going there, because we've seen not as many referrals to adult education from DCF. We used to have a lot, but we don't see those now because they aren't held accountable. They tell them to come. Well, okay, if they do, okay, if they don't, because there's no penalty if they don't.
Well, and the sad thing
that's not true.
There's still penalties.
Okay, well, I just wanted, and you can slap me around all you want, but I speak what I see and
There
what I'm
are
feeling.
penalties.
But what we're seeing is folks that come in and they don't stay. Do you see them?
Yeah, I've only had 60 staff referrals this year. Most of mine are Kansas Works.
Right.
And we'll say this. First of all, there is a reduction in the number of people that are on TANF.
That's true.
So there's that piece of it that you got to consider.
Right.
Second piece of it is there are how do I say this? There are still penalties, and anything that our work programs workers that we have here, anything that they determine as mandatory, that they place the individual in, regardless of whether or not it meets
I guess my question to
participation.
that is there doesn't seem to be a push for those individuals to get that high school diploma the way they used to. And I don't know
We
what
used to make a lot of them.
Yeah, used to, I know.
But it's because of the fact that that component doesn't meet
And the
participation.
sad thing
That's
is,
why I'm saying if it doesn't meet participation, I don't understand why it wouldn't.
well,
I completely agree. The unfortunate thing is because I'm sitting here and not in Washington, D.C.
Right.
and what they don't know is that our job as adult educators is that the GED or working towards that credential opens the door. We're going to push them right into those tech programs. That's what we do.
There's 7 of us
part of
sitting
it,
here that have the exact same question that was
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that helps us understand what's going on.
Yeah, because
We're
it's very
sitting here
frustrating
wondering
for
why.
us when we see how many
And
people
us.
have a big X on them just because we can't even get them in the door to our program, which would be that big.
But if we can get them into the AOK program,
But a lot of, well, yeah, you can take
or the K-pop program,
yeah.
then
Maybe they'll come back.
Right.
We can get them in those, even though they don't have that high school
Yes.
diploma. Then we can do an avenue we
and
want.
that's our back door
Yeah.
to getting them into.
Well, and another alternative that we're looking at, and it's nice to hear, particularly that you saying with the adult basic ed using Work Ready,
Right.
is a lot of employers in the state are starting to recognize Work Ready in lieu of GED. We can pay for Work Ready because it's job prep.
Well, everybody,
So-
if you're sending them to our adult ed program,
us to justify what the feds do.
No.
I'm asking what your speculation is. Are they just saying that the credential isn't worth anything?
No, what they're saying is that it's fine, it's wonderful, but it doesn't count toward whatever they have to have in terms of
It's not getting them in the workplace.
Right. And so what we're trying to do is use the back door through K-pop and AOK.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's essential.
So, but that clears it up for some of us. We understand now it's not local, it's not Kansas doing that. It's the federal thing. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Just to be black spot business in. This is the final year funding for AOK. We have an IVEST model, and I inquired about AOK, but brakes were put on because this is final year. And in programs that have AOK in your sustainability plan, you report to the state how you're going to continue funding. What does that look like?
It looks like nothing.
It looks like the MOU that DC was signed about.
Well, it's going to be.
I mean, that's part of why we came to the table was to do a sustainable thing until numbers start rolling back in to try to reapply.
We'll continue to do it on the sites that we're doing. We had 100%. The folks that I had hired that were part-time, strictly AOK, are gone. We can't afford them anymore. I had 100% co-instructed EMT class at Fort Scott. There's no longer 100% co-instructed class at Fort Scott because we can't afford to pay for the instructors. We will continue to do it at Ottawa. We'll continue to do it in Independence. We'll continue to do it here because guess who's doing that? My adult ed instructors are doing that, and that's part of their regular duties is to provide those classes and work with them. So they're going to continue to do that. It just won't be on as large a scale because we don't have the funding to do so. But we'll continue to provide those services. But as we do that, if we get more referrals, we know we can tie that GED into, and we can get funding coming from that way, then we're going to look at those avenues. I mean, that's something we need to know is how we can work with to better serve our students. So when we're talking to our students, they're thinking, well, I'm thinking I might like to go into nursing. Well, let's get you in a CNA class. Let's get you started while you're working on your high school diploma because you can get started in this class and continue working, and we can have DCF pay for this for you while you go through the first 12 hours of that program.
That's what we're doing in Topeka. We're piggybacking those things so that we can get those paid for.
Right.
What's the eligibility for the AOK? Is it just the low cost of score?
Qualify for adult education services, yep.
So anything below 246 on CASAS, either CASAS math or CASAS reading.
So as long as they
And it has to also be in an AOK approved track.
yeah.
Where do we find out what those tracks are?
We have those on a flyer, but they are allied health classes, your CNA, CMA. We also have them for the welding courses. We have EMT. It's on a flyer that we have, so we can get those and pass those around. Are there any other questions?
Are you guys a member of Track 7?
We're track 7. We're good for you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
She was cool. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah, one. Right.
I can make photocopies.
Yeah, once you make a photocopy, we'll pass this out. Okay. Anything else about AOK or any of those? 'Cause a lot of you folks will qualify for those too. Next thing on the agenda is partisan change, and I do have, these are normally in a trifold, but you can pass these around if you want to see these. Partisan change is our program that was developed here that Brenda Crum and I developed back in the late 90s. Ran it clear up through 2006 with welfare to work money, and when, because several of you have been here long enough with DCF to know what that was, it was a very, very successful program, and we've been asked to bring that back and have been running it again. And the thing that makes, and I can't, from DOC and DCS, I cannot stress enough, this program will not work if there's not a hook to it. If you're not willing to tell them they're going to have to go back before the judge and violate them or see if they can get revoked, if they don't complete the program, it won't work. If you're not going to take away their cash benefit for 3 months, it won't work. If that's not hanging over their head, it won't work in this program because it's called Partners in Change for a reason, and we work on that attitude that first 2 weeks. On time is employer driven. Employers tell us what they want out of this class, and being on time and being there every day is the number one thing that they ask for in Partners in Change. So that program, I tell them, it's the only time in your life that you'll have 6 weeks to work on you. Because you've got 196 hours that you have the opportunity to work on you, and you won't find anybody that'll be more brutally honest with you than we will. You're not going to like what they have to say. Actually, if I'm teaching a class, they actually hate me for the first 2 weeks and can't stand to see me walk in the door. But in the middle of the 3rd week, they're starting to understand.
They like me less.
The first 2 weeks, that's true. But then they're starting to understand that, you know what, there is a method to this madness, and I'm starting to learn things about me, because the true definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we all know that a lot of the folks that we work with continue to do the same thing that they've always done. So that's why it's Partners in Change. They're going to do the same thing that they've always done. This is not the class for them. The success rate in this class is fairly decent. But I'm going to tell you, if we lose them, we'll lose them the first 2 weeks. To give you an example, if somebody comes in and says, I'm only here because Charlie, my CEO, told me I had to be here, I'll say, okay, there's the door. You can leave now. And they're like, well, what? And I go, if that's the only reason you're here, you can leave. So, but I'll get in trouble. Okay? You'll get in trouble. That's a choice that you'd have to make. My guess is the only reason you're here is not because he told you to be here, because you wouldn't be here. Because you don't do everything Charlie tells you to do.
Mine do.
Yeah. I've seen some of that. So it's, we all know that they don't do everything that they're told. So they are there for a reason. So we can start finding out why they're really there. What is it in your life that you want to do different? And we cover a lot of things with Partners in Change, and it says some of those things on the back side of it. But getting them to understand who they are is one of the big things in this class. It's one of the hardest things that they have to do is figure out who they are. Because when we ask them who you are, if I ask you who you was, you might start out by telling me your name, how old you are, and what you do. That's not who you are, that's what you do. Getting them to understand deep down who they truly are. Yeah, but
Well, I was just going to add, we hear a lot from reporters about the lack of soft skills people bring to the table when they apply for jobs. I think sometimes they get confused with deeply ingrained behavioral issues or character defects. And I think they're on the right track.
one of the things we start this class out at 2 hours a day. It starts out at 2 hours a day for 2 days, then goes to 3 hours a day for 2 days, and then goes to 4 hours a day for 2 days. The reason we did that is because why? They have 10 million things going on in their life that they think is important. In other words, they'll do anything in the world to survive, but they won't do one damn thing to be successful. Okay? So we start working with them about being on time. During that time that you're on time, getting some time put over here, staying a little longer, working on some other things, which we call bank hours, because you may have to really go see your CO. Although most of the COs I know would come here and see them if the class is here, or go to Allen County if the class is in Allen County, they go visit with them there. But if they truly have something going on, we want them to have it over here, just like we have sick time. They could use that as sick time if something really comes up, because I won't sign that certificate if they're not there for that 196 hours. Because if they take that to an employer, because we talk to employers too, and let them know that we have these programs going on, that this is what we say they have. They've been here for 6 weeks, they've been here on time, they've done everything they have. We have a big checklist of competencies that they have to do. So this is a program that under Kansas Works, I'd like to see made sure that it's under intensive services and it's not an employment and training program. Although you could look at it there, but they're not ready for employment yet. The folks that we're working with are employable. Or we wouldn't have them in partners and teams. The folks that you're talking about, I think, with Empower You, these are folks that are more employable, that just need some skills and some brushing up. Am I wrong?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
Some are, I would consider unemployable, but some do need.
But they probably need a little more than what you're giving them. Would you think? How long do they stay, Julie?
They're just there for 3 weeks, but it's very intensive and it's a.
Because you've seen partners and teams too.
Sure. Yeah. I think they're really.
I'm not dogging her.
Great program. You were in a partners and team program?
No, we worked with her and they provided the adult ed component on their campus, and we did the partners and teams component on their campus.
What's the certificate you say they come out with, Randy?
It is a partners and change certificate. On the back side of it has a competency list of everything that they have completed. I sign it, and whoever was the facilitator for that class signed it. Used to be Brendan and I signed it.
Do you still do the graduation type ceremony and all that?
And they're tearjerkers sometimes.
Yes, they sure are.
Yep. And sometimes it's the only thing that these folks have ever completed in their life. So it's not for the faint of heart. There are things and what goes on behind cloud. I've had people slam the door, yell the F word, and walk out, and somebody will follow them, walk around, ask them to smoke, tell them, after we get them calmed down, say, you want to come back to class? And most of the time, you'll let me, and I'm like, everybody deserves one. That was your one. Don't let it happen again. Because if you do something like that again, it's not acceptable. Everybody's going to have those points, but if we got to that point where they did that, we got somewhere. If somebody gets mad in that classroom, we touched on something that needs to be touched. And we'll push buttons in that classroom. Those of you that know anything about this program know we're not afraid to push those buttons.
Randy, how is the schedule for Partners in Change working as far as, while I was gone, I think they told me that you were doing programs in the various different counties, right?
Right.
And so how are you?
We don't have a set schedule.
Okay.
Right now, Carol, we do have, I think, Dewey's not in here, but I think the second week of January, we'll have one here.
Okay.
I think she just sent out something, I see some nods from some folks that may have got notification. So we'll have one here, that's new. The second week of January, we're having another one in Allen in March, somewhere in March. We haven't set the date, but it'll be in March.
And I'm still need to know about the class size as far as referrals.
15 or, 8 to 15. I mean, if we have 18 or 20 referred, I'm not worried because that many won't show up.
Still knock on the door if they're a no-show the first day.
First day, we knock on doors and ask why you're not here.
Randy, Pittsburgh's not part of the consortium, so how do we get Pittsburgh area people involved in this? Or any other area that's not in the consortium?
I could do the same thing in Pittsburgh that I do without. I can do the same thing, and I have talked to Karen and Lansky about the possibility of doing it on a Fort Scott campus, in my opinion. I haven't spoken with you, but we could do the same thing. How that works for us is adult education starting the middle or end of the third week comes in 3 hours a day and works with folks on whip grant reading. They have workplace math, reading for information, and those are the things that they come in and work with them on. So you would have, we had a class of 15, you would have 15 adult education students that were mandated to be there.
We also do the initial classes testing.
No, on their side, they do.
Well, they would, I'm saying, no, that does that.
Yeah, adult education does, but they would do that on their side.
No, but I just
And what we've done in the past for work keys, if you have somebody that does work keys, we'll pay for the test, you give the test. Because we'll get that taken care of. So, we can provide it in other places. The other option for us would possibly be to do it on Cherokee campus, so that has just south of Pittsburgh. So that is an option, because Cherokee County is our service area. I've stayed out of that because I don't want to step on Karen's toes.
See what we deal with in Cherokee County as transportation. If it was at Cherokee campus, that would probably be a center location.
I don't believe transportation is an issue. I believe want to is an issue. Because I guarantee you, if I talk to any one of those folks and I said, I got 2 tickets to go to their favorite concert, guess where their backside would be?
We can give transportation allowance.
Well, but I'm just saying, it comes down to, and that's part of what we work on in that class, is I don't believe transportation is the issue, the attitude is the issue. And you know, I have people disagree with me on that all the time, but I guarantee I can prove it wrong.
I don't disagree.
Well, we had those 3 people from Fredonia that drove over here every day in carpool.
But I mean, there's a way.
Yeah.
In other words, if there's a will, there's a way. And I understand that we're working with folks that have limited resources, but they can be very resourceful. Very resourceful. So I'm not knocking that either, because I actually kind of walked on their shoulder at one point in time in my life.
Randy, I'm trying to remember how the cost is calculated on.
It's about $750 a person. So it's $7,500 is what I figured it cost me to put it on.
Okay.
So if you have 15, 16 in there, it's less than that. But
I just think that the formula that was being used now is a little different than the way we
about the
used
same.
it. Is it
Not
about
much.
the same?
Yeah, about the same. It's about the same. So, any other questions about partnering and change? Because that's a program that I think it's needed. I'm going to back up to adult education. One of the things we talked about is incorporating a few more, not as hard for you, but if we go to 8-week classes, and maybe even lower levels, going for longer than that, and we incorporate some more of these harder skills into our adult education program. And that's what I'd like to see come out of this group is you're a little quiet. I do more talk. I don't normally talk as much, but not in a group anyway. Not in a group anyway, right?
I said that in my head.
Yeah, I heard it. So, not in a group, but I feel like if we get the input from, and I'm sitting here thinking this is great, but you know what? We ought to have 8 or 9, 10 employers here in this room too, because we need their input too on what they want and what they see from our folks and what they're seeing from the folks that have the background that we're working with that come and work for them.
Not that anybody wants to hear more about work participation rate, but for the DCF workers, more for your benefit than anybody else. But with the certification that they get, the Partners in Change certificate with all the skills listed on the back that they attained while they were here, you can count that as VOC.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yep,
What
absolutely.
you
can VOC that because they basically it bases on the computer work is how we're justifying it.
And is that for the entire 6 weeks?
Yes. Yes. I know that's always a concern when people are worried about referrals, but it can be voted based on the fact that that certificate shows that they got work-related training and skills. So.
And what about hours? 30?
Yeah. Because it's just like college course, so you can count in school and the assumed out of school self-participation.
No, one of the things we used to do in the past is we offered it for credit. There was that opportunity for them to earn college credit for completing this class. And it could be I don't know.
There's still a lot of loopholes. I mean, there's just a lot of hoops to get through to make that happen. It's cleaner, it's more streamlined to do it in the non-credit.
Right.
I mean, if that becomes a barrier, we can look at that.
We offer the whole thing for credit hours.
Right. We can look at that.
So they do not get college
No, it
credit.
doesn't really It's easier for us to do it in the non-credit.
Because our adult ed folks come in and do that, 3 hours a day for that last 3.5 weeks. So if they don't have a high school diploma, they've got a good jump on getting it, and then they enter into our adult education program to finish up their GEDs, because our folks are always working. We had how many at 9, 2? Are they still working? One still working. Okay. So we have folks that went through, but you get eggies out of them because we cost assess them at the end also. So it is a benefit to when you say you're an adult ed program. Okay. Any other questions?
Have you
I forgot. But anyway, they help pay for and give us startup costs to get this program off the ground, Partners in Change, and get it flying again. We do have somebody hired that works for business and industry. That's what her job is, but they have to fill out a survey. They had some surveys that were due that weren't finished yet. They're due tomorrow, so she's taking care of that instead of being here today to make sure that those are being completed and so we can have continued funding. But the idea of the last week of Partners in Change is that they are actually going out, and she has manufacturers or business and industry where they are actually doing interviews that last week, and they're coming back and talking to the class about how that interview went, what they could have done differently, or how they felt while they were at the interview. But we do mock interviews. We do one first off where it's just cold, and then we do have employers come. We send our folks out to employers like Magnetech down in your Daily World do it for us here. Walmart's done it for us here. Iowa will do it for us. So we have several different places that will do those kinds of interviews. And yes, they want it. If there's any way. Spirit Manufacturing down in Keene, there's 5 of our folks that are employed there. They're a big proponent for Partners in Change. Our folks are coming in and they don't have to spend the training money.
Well, I think Spirit works a lot better than Wix. If I tell my people, you know, how you're going to go to jail, they'll say, okay.
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, if you say to them, hey, if you complete this program, you'll have guaranteed interview or maybe a much.
You'd have a lot higher percentage, Ken. I don't know we can guarantee.
Right.
And the other thing we're working on doing is, look, last time we had the last 2 weeks of class, we let folks do internships or on the job training, which we could set up to do Kansas Works again and possibly get some of this going again, where they go to class half a day and go to work half a day. We had that out here with PC boards is what it used to be, is Sierra Midwest, or whatever it is now, but they used them as fillers. You know, they just fill in that day for whoever wasn't there, and then at the end of the day, finish the class and continue to work another 3 weeks out there, and then they'd either get hired or they'd sit down and talk and say, we don't have a place for you right now. Here's some things that you can do better.
Have you ever talked to you about rehire? You know, it's the thing that we see a lot is like there's factories that will hire almost anybody, you know, but then those people that aren't ready will lose their job. Right. But then maybe they come back through and say, hey, if you do this Partners in Change, you're more eligible for a rehire. We do this a lot of times. Once you get fired, you're done with that place. Well, there's only a limited amount of places.
And that was the thing that here's my thing, when I first came down here, I was really amazed that the people wouldn't go from here, Chanute, Iowa, to go to work. They wouldn't drive that far, that was too far away, and I said, well, why don't you just move up there? Well, my God, no, they'd never moved. So they burned every bridge they had in Neosho County. You know, they worked for everybody, they could get a job. They knew how to get a job, they had 15 of them. So, you know, yeah.
I mean, we can pay for relocation. You know, if there's a bona fide offer of employment from someone, you know, I want to ship them off to Allen County.
Right. But that's part of what we work on in this class too. And yes, to answer your question, is yes, we do have companies that will be rehires, and Spears is one of them. They've rehired at least one of our folks that was there before because they went through this program and they believe in the program. The more we do the program, the more we get out in the public, the more that'll be commonplace. Does that make sense? So we're working on that component. It's not that we aren't talking to them, because we have. New GED. Who wants to? Tina, who wants to? Julia?
Yeah, I brought some fun things from the state. We just pass around. These are new GED information. Just take time to look through them. Just kind of give you an overview. If you have questions, sign them in there.
Why don't we just start going down this side now, start going across the back? They're the same, aren't they?
You have your overview.
Can't be.
Yeah, I put this on While he's passing out the copies competencies, I just pulled this so I could show from our state meeting last week.
Almost over here. This is coming out. You may have to turn that on the side. The only way in here
sorry, Randy wasn't expecting this, but this might help you understand a little bit about the cost of competencies in the new GED and what we're talking about, this buttoned up knowledge and that rigor. The new GED is aligned to the college and career readiness standards, which are work-related employability standards, and this is just a comparison chart to show you. Really?
Yeah.
Go to computer or overhead, sorry. Here you go. How about you pull this bad boy out?
Oh, I gotta change this way. Now that you do that, I remember that. I always.
Well, in this change, there, maybe?
You gotta change.
Really avoid
I'm guessing. That's on.
There we go. There we go.
Probably gonna have to turn the light on for just a few minutes if you guys don't mind, because you won't be able to see it in the room.
Okay, guys, the new GED is aligned. The test questions are aligned, and the curriculum that's going to be coming out for ABE schools are aligned to the college and career readiness standards. Can you guys see that? Is it fun? Oh, this doesn't help. You can't read it very well. Anybody know if this is that one? Tell me that the autofocus. I know she's pushing. Yeah, I am. I'm autofocusing. It's not doing anything. Yeah, well. Sorry.
Close that door, please.
As we grow our learning cultures, that's what we say in adulthood. You guys read that? It's not clear to you, is it?
Should be.
Did that work? Is that making it clear? Go the other way. There you go. Is that better? Keep going. Is it legible? Still blurry. There you go. Requisition for a new Elmo rating. There you go. Well, I'll rate it from here. Okay, our cost of competency, what the GED currently is aligned to, it's skills like interpreting and writing expressions and equations representing contextual situations. These are the skills that we're testing for in the new GED. The rigors increase. We're solving real-world problems with 4 operations, rational numbers, rewriting expressions using evidence in different forms with text evidence, the inequalities. So what the rigor has done in the new GED in 2014 is it's gone up to, like, who was speaking from Neosho? Right there. Like you were speaking from Neosho, they were going to be one step to knowledge 3 and 4 levels. Okay, when this was normed this summer, it was a 60-40 split. It was normal high school students, juniors and seniors. 40% of the norming did not pass. It's 60% passing. So incoming 18-year-olds were not able to pass the GED 14 because we're aligning it with a higher level of rigor. So when you look at your cost competencies, we're looking at this level of rigor. This is a low basic recall memory, rote memorization, levels 1 and 2. Okay. So what the new GED 2014 is aligned to is the college and career readiness standards. So really increased rigor. And these are the college and career readiness standards, if anyone wants to know. This is what we do instructionally. College and career readiness, what it says, what we do. So the rigor is increased dramatically for what someone's expected to do. So think about how difficult this would be if you've been out of school 13, 14, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. Okay? So I don't even think dead end is as much as an issue as the new 14 test is going to be for all of our adult ed population. We're going to have remedial ed for a lot of our adult ed population, not just those that come in with special needs, LD, and IEP. So, thoughts about that?
Quick question about the new test. It's going. If they're doing away with the multiple choice questions, there won't be near as many multiple choice. There will be short answers. We'll have to teach key learning skills to our students because they'll have to be able to write their essay on the English part, and that have to be typed in without the grammar or write or spell check on the computer.
There's also extended response under science and social studies, which we've not previously seen. There's drop-down menus. There's drop and drag. The calculator is going to be all online, and it's not one where you can use a tin keypad on your keyboard. You will have to click numbers in. What else? There's a symbols box, so the math question might say the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. Simplify, if I can talk and leave in radical form. That's one of the questions. So, what's radical? How do I put radical into this? It's literally just a box, and you have to go to the symbol box and add the symbol and put the answer in there. So, just like she said, much more rigorous than not just the content area, but the delivery method itself. Just the fact that it's on computer. And the thing that we were talking about the other day, one of the things that we feel like has kind of given us a leg up is the work keys test, though, because it's computerized. And so that we felt like at least gave us a leg up. So we were thankful for the work keys test because they've had some experience navigating through that. Even though this may be a little bit more difficult, the locating information, the panel is nodding her head because that locating information test is back and forth between different screens, and they have to know how to manipulate. That's probably
more critical thinking skills on the new test.
And you will have calculator usage on science and social studies in addition to math as well. So you see a lot of that cross-curricular learning. So, yeah.
Any questions on the new GED? We do the new Pearson View testing sites. You guys are getting yours approved. You're in the process, I think.
We won't be up by January.
No, but you're in the process, yeah. We have here. You have.
We've been testing on Pearson since July.
Sharon, Sue's in the process, or is she? I think she's in the process. So the good thing, the only good thing I see about it is that there's a lot more places students can test. Okay.
I think the Cherokee Center is going to be Pearson View 2. That's what the parents do.
Okay. Yeah. And the Cherokee Center will be a Pearson View testing site too. All right. So John, if you want to start, and we'll get you going for about 20, 35 minutes.
The price of the test is $120 too, up from
Plus
$85.
$15 state fee is going to be $135.
Well, not yet, but to start with $120, and we'll probably see that $135.
So what we'll do, you got to change this back, Heather, so we're getting it off the computer.
Sorry.
And then,
do you think there'd be a bigger push for credit replacement instead of GED now?
you know, Kansas is looking at a lot of different things right now. And one of the things that I would like to see happen is what they do in Washington State with the IBEST model. If a student completes a certificate program, then they automatically get a high school diploma issued by Kansas Board of Regents. But will we get there? I don't know.
They have to roll.
Yes, yes. And the other thing they can do now, customer, they can take this test today and then come back and the next time they can take a test. They can take them one at a time now, but it will cost. Did I hear $35?
No, there's free retakes per module for 2
No, I'm talking about if they want to take them one at a time instead of paying for the group and everything. $25 per test, but if you do that, it amounts to, yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm John Churchill with Southeast Kansas Works, and Travis is our QA manager with Southeast Kansas Works. And we have other staff here, Doug, and Randy, and John, and Brenda. We got Janice, she's running the. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we do through Kansas Works and what services we provide. And I'm sure Doug and John will chime in anytime with questions or answers with questions. So if anybody has any questions at any time, just speak up. First off, we are local area 5. We serve 17 counties. Actually, this is a map of the 5 local areas. We're the, of course, local area 5. There are 2 counties. Chase and Marion are also connected to us. That we serve through Wagner Kaiser. We get a lot of job seekers from those counties coming to the office. Our main offices are Pittsburgh, Independence, Emporia. We have satellite offices in Chanute and Hale. So, like I said, those are the 5 local areas, and with the 17 counties we serve are listed out to the side. We have 2 types of customers: employers and job seekers. So we're continually trying to match job seekers with employers, employers to job seekers. And our goal is to match suitable job seekers with suitable employers. So we try to make the right fits and make the referrals for companies that are looking for a welder or a machinist or whatever the case might be. So we continue to do job postings and are looking within the office for people that are looking for employment to be able to refer them to an employer that may have their job posted. So employer services is really we do the time. We do a lot of, we try to help employers a lot with recruitment of suitable employees, or we try to help screen and refer the right candidates for their job. If they don't have the qualifications for the job, we try to maybe refer them to another employer. So that way the time is reduced with the employer, for us, and for the job seeker, trying to just point them in the right direction so that they're not wasting time applying for jobs that they're not qualified to get. So we do a lot of job fairs. We found that one we're having a lot of success with now is these doing a job fair for one company, whether it be at the office or at the company itself. We did one last week in Iowa with Cameron. We've done Cobalt Boats, Spirit, Watco. We've done for Downstream, and Carlisle, and Pittsburgh. So those are seen. We have a lot of success. The candidates coming in, they get to meet with somebody from the company, or at least get to meet with somebody and talk to. They fill out an application, and we fill out it. Watco was set up with iPads to do an online application right there, and they actually got to talk to somebody right away. So I think we had 35 to 40 candidate job seekers at that one. That was in the Independence office. We had around 85 at the one for Cobalt Boats. We had 45 last week for one in Cameron and Iola. Job seekers showed up, filled out an application, and were able to talk to either someone from Kansas Works or from the company right then. So it's good. Actually, those job fairs we see a lot of benefit from them, not only for the company, but for the job seeker as well, because they get to talk to somebody. They actually get somewhat of an interview right then. So I think that goes a long way in helping them maybe prepare for even if they don't get that job, prepare for the next time they go for an interview. So we've seen some success. They've been able to fill their positions fairly quickly by doing those. So those are, I said, company tailored job fairs are kind of what we've been helping with here lately. Retention strategies, we have several things. We do incumbent worker training. It's available to businesses to support job retention and career development for their incumbent workers, especially those most vulnerable to job loss. That might be a company that's maybe going to have a possible layoff if they can't get their workforce retrained and skilled. Next one is Kansas Industrial Training Program. And John, you can step in anytime because you're more familiar with these than I am. But KIT program provides training funds to firms that are creating at least one new net job. So that would be, they've got a new job, so they need to train their work, the new people for these jobs. These are new positions that require all new training. The Kansas Industrial Retraining Program, which is called CURV, is retraining. So a company may get some new equipment in, they need to retrain their workforce. So there's funds out there to help retrain the workforce. And then the impact program assists new and expanding businesses that are creating or retaining a large number of jobs at or above average wages. So these companies creating new positions and typically require to create, train a minimum of 100 net new positions. So that's another program that there's funding out there to help the company get started and help to grow the workforce. Some of the assessment skills testing that we do is the work keys, work ready certificate. We're seeing a lot more companies recognize the work key certificate. They are, if somebody comes in and takes the time to go through the key training and then complete the work key certificate, they've got some time invested. They've spent a number of hours preparing and completing the work key certificate. It helps that employer to know where their comprehensive skills may lie. A bronze level is even though it's the lowest level that you can receive the certificate for, they've still got the time invested. They still have a fairly good level of comprehensive skills. Silver, gold, platinum level is very high. We've probably only seen a couple in this whole region in the time we've been given work key certificates. So the platinum, gold level are very high. Their comprehensive skills are pretty high, and once again, they have spent the time.
I just want to add to it, just something we're just rolling out of Kansas Works. You can go to Kansas Works. There's drop-down boxes over on it, on kansasworks.com, and you can go county. You can look at work keys totals for any county in the state. It's just basically that's a map of the state. You can pick out the county, so if you're interested in how many certificates they have, or what level in each state. That's just something that's been rolled out here in the last week or so.
There's also a list of employers on there that recognize the credentials well.
It's not all of them.
Yeah, it's not up to date.
Yeah. Add to more. Sorry. Work keys is a great retention tool. And from the West, they have one company in particular that is retaining 80% of their workforce now. It used to be 20. So it's highly recommended by employers.
We're definitely seeing more employers see the value. Yeah, here.
Yeah, the interior refinery in McPherson will take an application without work keys with the application. Right. The part, it's an attachment that you must have. So.
The spirits and spirit requires additional training.
And there are school districts throughout the state of Kansas that are starting to require it. Even at Topeka, Washburn Rural High School, which is the second largest high school in Topeka, is now a requirement for graduation that all individuals going through the school must complete work ready before they graduate.
Community college.
This is a great tool when we're referring individuals from the workforce center to a company also. That they've completed this, and we have one company that we did some OJTs with that the guys scored gold level, and their application resume, they wouldn't have really taken a second look at him, especially one guy had a felony, but it wasn't against their policy by the company. It's just they probably wouldn't have hired the guy, and we did an on-the-job training. It was real successful, and they liked him because they were able to he has a comprehensive skills to be a CNC machinist and read the prints and set up the machines. So they're real happy with the fact that they got this employee and normally wouldn't. Here's a few of the companies in this area that recognize work key certificate.
That gang locating information test. Putting that one in the shape. Have you taken it? It's hard.
I believe. So, another one of the employer services that we have is rapid response activities. This is when a plant or facility closes, so we're having a mass layoff. We come in, we provide information on unemployment insurance, training services, just basically community services, where the ABD Center is, where the DCF office is, just basically provide all this information to individuals that are involved in a mass layoff. So that's just one more service to provide there at Kansas Works. John and I missed anything out.
You did a fine job.
Mr. Pettis is our
Responsible. Said earlier, our workforce center customers are employers and job seekers. We spend a lot of time trying to work with individuals to get them job ready, and that may consist of referring them to the ABE Center or get their GED, removing any kind of where they need some retraining. So they have to. We try to get them up so they can they can be qualified to fill the positions that we have in the area. That may consist of training for welding or CNC machining, just a number of different trainings, nursing programs. We pay to help individuals with that. We help with supporting services to get them to maybe for child care, transportation. So.
I'll click it when you flip your page. We're on the same track.
Oh, so we're on the same page. Programs for job seekers. Wagner Pisers is basically somebody comes in the office, that's the first service they're going to receive. The first people they're going to see is they're going to do some job search, job seeking, do our Kansas Works website, maybe create a Plus account, get set up in our Kansas Works system so that they can do job searches outside of the center on a computer at home or whatever. So that is our first. When they come in, that's the first thing they're going to do is sit down and look for a job and try to see what we can find that's out there that they may be qualified for, and then the company that may be seeking. The Workforce Investment Act, or WIA, we have different funding streams through that, and our adult, dislocated worker, and youth programs. And this is just a matter of where this person may fall as far as eligibility determination, whether their age, their income status.
We'll go into each one of these
a little more.
more in a few more slides.
Our Kansas Health Professional Opportunity Project, or KPOP as we call it, is the health professional grant that we have that we provide training to nurses, CNA, CMA nurses. We've got some respiratory therapists, radiologists, anything in the healthcare field.
Does that include like medical transcription, that medical, whatever it is, records clerks, and those kind of things?
We've done a few of them. We try to make sure that the person's suitable for that. We're not. We don't like to coach somebody to go into a profession that there may not be a lot of jobs in. There's a lot more nursing openings, those types of things, than there are billing and coding, transcriptionists, and that. So when our career specialists sit down with people, we're trying to coach them to go in the right direction. And if you're going to receive training, let's get some training that when you're done, you'll be able to get a job. So
I think it was about four years ago, there was a huge push for medical coders and medical billers, and we pushed a lot of people through that. And then 2 years later, there's no work to be found in those occupations because a lot of companies are outsourcing that now. And so we had a huge number of people that we paid for their training, and now they can't find jobs in that area. So we're trying to. And that's a good one. It really depends on where you're at. Like in the southeast part of Kansas, southeast corner part, there's not a lot of openings for that. Yeah. You get closer up in Miami County, where they can travel to Kansas City, you'll find openings for that. So you really need to get with the workforce center and find out what's available in your area that you plan on living at. Otherwise, where are you going to move to? For those jobs.
So depending on if I had a student that was interested in being a phlebotomist, I would say go to your workforce center in Hampton County and tell them you want to be a phlebotomist, right?
Well, it depends on where they live.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying sometimes they're transient. They don't stay anywhere. Right. Randy was talking about the ones we didn't pick that never leave Chinook, but a lot of our ABE students move around. Yeah. Yeah. So, and phlebotomy is one of those programs that they could do in a relatively short amount of time in the bigger scheme of things. And so I was just trying to figure out how to, if you wouldn't cover something like that here, would we?
Yeah, and I think that you have to go to a bigger city or go to a bigger hospital where a phlebotomist.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if I had a student that wanted to do that and their goal was to move closer to the city, would it behoove them to come here and take the training, or would it be more likely to be covered if I said go ahead and go up there?
If they're willing to relocate, we can.
You can work with them here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to review those on a case by case basis too.
Okay. It's just not within. It's well within our possibility for our students for that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good questions.
We just wouldn't want to put 100 people through it for this area that want to stay.
Well, it's something we offer on our campus, and like I said, a lot of times I'm trying to push for business for our school, obviously, but with the understanding that they're not probably going to get jobs around. I mean, ultimately, that's just the way it is. I mean, we have nurses that go to nursing school here and go to the city to work. So.
But it goes back to looking at it on a case-by-case basis and in developing their individual employment plan. We clearly state what their plan is to complete that. We can't say where the jobs are. They're not willing to do that, and we're probably not going to fund it. The IA is not an entitlement program. We're not going to put people through training that aren't willing to move to where the jobs are.
So they just need to market themselves well when they come into a counseling session and say, yes, I'm willing and able to do this. Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't expect anything else. I just wanted to know that was within the realm of possibility. We've got somebody that, okay.
They need to know where the jobs are at. I mean, where they'll find a job.
Well,
They're not willing to relocate. They need to.
We tell them that, in career exploration, you're not going to be a CSI overnight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
see if you like the medical field. But
But you gotta look at the, what bottoming pays in this corner of the state versus what it pays up in Kansas City. Is that a livable wage up there?
Right.
Are they gonna be able to survive on a economist wage in Kansas City too?
Right.
It's part of educating your job seeking customer.
Last thing on this slide is the H-1B grant, which is, the H-1B is basically set up to eliminate the need for H-1B visas for engineers. It's more focused towards the companies, and it's an on-the-job training program that they have to be an engineer with a bachelor's degree and be unemployed, be an American citizen. There's priorities of service veterans, females, that type of thing. But it's more focused towards helping the company find an engineer to fill their positions. There is companies in this area looking for qualified engineers that really struggle to find engineers. So
We'll go more into that on that
later. Job search and placement assistance and career counseling would be one of our first core services when somebody comes in. Do outreach, the intake and orientation, eligibility determination, initial assessments to skill levels and aptitudes, and some labor market research, referral to other agencies, AD, DCF, etc. This is getting back to that first part. The Wagner pilot, when they first come into office, and for services, Wagner pilot, staff take care of a lot of this, and they do refer it on to we as staff, maybe to do more of it, but that's our core services if somebody would come into office. More intensive services would be the comprehensive assessments of skill levels. That's when we start doing the work keys, CASAS tests for see what their skill level is to make sure they possess the skill level to complete training programs if they're interested in a training program. We do start identifying employment barriers and developing employment goals, do individual counseling on a case-by-case basis, short-term pre-vocational service for individuals for unsubsidized employment. We also have the supportive services. We take care of help with child care and transportation to a training program. So if they're going to nursing school, we would most of the time we're helping with child care and transportation to get them to and from their classes and also to the clinicals or what have you. And we're always developing individual employment plans to identify the goals and barriers, to remove barriers, I guess you'd say. Really, we should have already had them identified. But we update these regularly to keep them on track with their employment goals. When we first sit down, we're setting goals, but things change in these people's lives daily, weekly, monthly. So these individual employment plans are real key to keeping everybody on track. Training services are basically available to the ones that need it, have met the eligibility requirements, and we'll put them through some type of training program to get them more prepared to be able to move into unsubsidized employment. So we provide assistance through the WIA, the Trade Act, TAA, and we we leverage those funds against Pell, all of their Pell grants. Most everybody we serve qualify for Pell grants, so we're always making sure they're applied for Pell and on track with that.
I might emphasize one thing here as far as we have funded training services. It is not an entitlement program. We look at each case on a case-by-case basis. There's barriers there that indicate the training may not be suitable at this point just because they're eligible. Doesn't mean that they're going to be determined suitable for receipt of WIA funding until we remediate any barriers that would be, prevent them from successfully completing the training program, wasting the funds and basically burning the bridge for them. We don't like to set anybody up for failure, so our training services are, should be looked at as more of a hand up as opposed to a handout. Really want to get people who are making a livable wage, they can support a family with. And sometimes we have to take that in small steps. K-pop program's a good example. We do a lot of career laddering, that CNA, CMA, home health aid, on into LPN, on up to RN. Once they complete the CNA component, they're expected to start working, taking the CMA component. Once they get the credential there, work in that field and keep working and career laddering up until they've met their ultimate goal of becoming an RN. RN is our local area's highest demand occupation at this point. Truck driving is right there with it. So.
Switch back and forth on about a monthly basis. Labor market information.
I just want to stress, just because somebody's knowledgeable doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get funded. I mean, there may be some things in the way that we need to address before we go any further.
Well, I guess we're ready for lunch.
You guys want to take another break while they set it up, and when you fill our plates, set back down. John, going through services for that. We can. You don't get to eat. You have to earn that. You ain't done it.
When I retired, 3 years.
So, just so we don't stay here too long, I'm going to get started. From what we come with our group, of course, one thing that always comes out is it would be nice to have a centralized basic database where we can all see who's doing what. A good thing that came out of one of the good things I think is that we created an email list of this group, and we all put out a list of what we thought our folks needed, our clients, our participants, our students, whatever you want to call them, and email that list in so we can look, and then it gets put together and emailed back out as a complete list. So these are the things that we'd like to see happen. And then when we meet again, we can talk about doing those together. Set up an email group and put together a list of what our clients need the most. The other thing was, and Dan has agreed to do this, to see about getting some training for each site on poverty. This is the Bridges Out of Poverty. I've been through it a couple of times and several others before, but if you'd like to have that, so some of your folks that are working can see that, because it's a really good training. I've been through it a couple of times, but it lets you experience what it's like to be in their shoes. And if you don't have your basic needs met, when I was talking about to do anything to survive, but not do anything to be successful, what I'm talking about is if you don't have food, if you don't have clothing, one of the goals in our last Partners in Change class was to get their electricity turned back on. And the instructor I said, well, is that really, that's a need, that's not a goal? And I go, no, that's a goal, because it's a need, but it is also a goal. They wanted to have their electricity turned back on within the next 10 days. So just looking at those kinds of things, better communication between agencies, and if we can do that by having meetings like this once or twice a year. So you're doing with your group name?
Oh, yeah.
Since you're up there.
Our group would like to see more employees at these meetings because that way, we're all working with individuals who are not necessarily the most employable, but if we can get employers in here to tell us what they're looking for, to tell us what we need to work with our students on, that would be beneficial. So, what were some of the other ones, you guys?
Well, we just talked about, obviously no employer can make a guarantee, but if they would be open-minded to the idea of interviewing these people, if they complete Partners in Change or Power You, or just something to give them a little more motivation. It's like we got the wrong stakeholders here.
The other thing we said was to maybe possibly have a quarterly meeting, just so we can keep up to date with what grant programs are still going on, as to what benefits they are, because with DCF I know things change all the time, and so with grant programs, the same things. A grant will be going and then it will end, and sometimes everybody's not on the same page of knowing that.
Our group really focused in on just a couple of general areas. The first one was distance and transportation issues, because for a lot of the clients that we serve who really are in those outlying areas or places that are not as much of a population centers, transportation to things like Partners in Change or Empower You can be an issue. So we talked about two things in relation to that. One is just sort of exploring what grants there may be with regards to public transportation, because we all know those services are limited and they're struggling with their funding right now. So just looking into what grants are available to assist with that. And then the other thing we discussed to address the issue of transportation would be to have things like Partners in Change in more diverse locations. Like we talked about Fredonia, and how we could probably have 15 people there right now who would be willing to take that if we were able to offer the class from that location. And then other, what's that?
We haven't.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, cool. Well, that was sort of the consensus, is if we could, and what we would need to do, obviously, is work together as service providers to send the referrals through to make sure that there was enough demand. But places like Fredonia and Yates Center, so that way we can be serving people in those areas as well. The other thing that our group talked about was sort of what you guys talked about, which was there are, a lot of people who need jobs that
each area that they're working in, like mental health, UCF, corrections, JJ, whatever, adult ed, whatever it may be, if we could come up with some kind of uniform referral form. And we talked about Kansas Works kind of being the hub of that, because most of our people hit Kansas Works, and if they could have that universal referral form, then we would all be covered, and we would be able to share information a lot easier. The one barrier, or two barriers, I guess, was mental health and what was PFA? Preferred family. Yeah, alcohol and drug counseling. That they're very, very tight-lipped and pretty protective of their information, which we would expect that from them. But I think that was the one big barrier, is that Ken was concerned, as have I been, and probably anybody that's ever worked with people. There are some people that you just don't know about, and that safety issue more today than any time in our history has it been important to know what the history is of some of the people that we're working with. And we don't know that at this point. We have no way of knowing that. So I think that what he was saying, and can add in here anytime, was that having this universal form with mental health and PFA on there would let us know, not that we wouldn't provide services, we'd be able to provide better services, because we would know the history of the people we're working with. We don't need to know specifics and get all in depth on the diagnosis, but just know if there's a danger to society, because we can't be the kind of workers and counselors and instructors that we need to be if we don't know everything about the people we're working with. So that was the thing we talked most about. Anything else, guys? In my group? No?
Okay, well, my group talked about quite a few things. We talked about better communication, of course, between agencies, flyers, emails. We all try really hard, but it always seems like something comes up and somebody doesn't know about it. But better communication. Even those agencies that share buildings sometimes have issues communicating. We talked about generational poverty, which would fit right into the poverty training, and that a lot of times corrections has their people that their main goal in life is to get on disability, and that's a major issue. And that we want to help people with their work history and getting them to understand that they need to get a basic job and then keep it, but that brings all sorts of issues with their assistants, and their rent can go up, and so it's this, endless cycle that we have to find some way to break that. We also talked about more collaboration with Adult Ed, Kansas Works, and the employers to help make sure that they're on board with our people, whether they're in on PIC or ABE or getting their GD or whatever it may be, because that's going to be a definite motivation for these students, is that if they know that they can at least get an interview with reputable employees, so, or employers. Good?
Anything anybody wants to add? Okay, forget it, Bruce. Anything anybody wants to add? I mean, because one of the things, the strong point I see out of this is a possibility is maybe forming some partnerships within the agencies to go after some larger grants that might help solve some of these problems of transportation that we're talking about in very rural areas, or being able to bring some of our programs to the rural areas where it's Empower You or Partners in Change or whichever one it is, to be able to do those in some remote areas. But then also the thing that we got to look at in those remote areas is when they get done with it, what's the employment options for them there. So that's one of the things we was talking about. People that should be at the table, employers, and it sounds like mental health. Anybody else? I think we can talk some employers from our agency. I'd need help from some of the other adult ed places in Kansas Works to get some employers here maybe next time.
Substance abuse.
That would be under mental health, substance abuse.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Because what we'll do is, if you can think of anything, I sent around this form to fill out. If you, on the back side of it, there's other comments too. If you got other comments on it, but if you leave comments, fill those things out, it's going to help us do a better job next time. And this time it was kind of
Emporium is this month. Pittsburgh will be in December. Independence will be in January, and then starting in Emporia February. So last Wednesday